Hi guys, it is April from Getting Hogo With It. Today I'm here to do part 2 of my July wrap-up. Let's get into it. So I finished 2 books and I DNF'd 1 book at the end of July. So let's start with the DNF because I've got a lot to say about it. This is Year of Wonders by Geraldine Brooks. This is not a very long book. It's only 300 pages, and yet I just couldn't. I was listening to this on audiobook, and I cannot tell you how much I despise the audiobook. So apparently Geraldine Brooks herself narrated it, and I can't tell you how horrible it was. I'm sorry to say, this was the worst audiobook I've ever listened to in my entire life. I listened to a lot of audiobooks. But the way that she talked was extremely annoying. She kind of spoke like this. "Miss Bradford, do me the kindness of remaining where you are. I would be obliged if you would refrain from insulting members of my household whilst they're carrying out my instructions." Like that. Which is very annoying. I couldn't. I hated everybody in the book because of her voice. And I mean, it's a novel about the plague. And I just wanted them to all die and get it over with because that's how much I despised it. So if you are ever going to pick up this book, please do yourself the favor of reading the physical copy and not listening to the audiobook. I, for a second, thought, well, maybe I'll just stop listening to the audiobook and just pick up the physical copy. But the audiobook was so burned in my mind that I just couldn't. So it's actually got me to the point of like not really wanting to read any more Geraldine Brooks, because now I know how she speaks and how she thinks the story was like, because she narrated herself. That, like, I've got March, which was a Pulitzer Prize winner. I've got that on my shelves. I've got another one, yeah, People of the Books, or People of the Book, I should say. Yeah, I'm gonna take a couple of years off from her because, oh, I just hated it. Hated. The story itself wasn't horrible. It was just the narrator just like really ruined it. Really. Okay, I'm gonna move on to something good. Okay, so this is Blood Wedding by Pierre Lemaitre, and I'm so sorry if I'm saying his name wrong, but this is a thriller book that I freaking loved. I gave this 5 stars because it was so brilliant. This is about a woman named Sophie. Now, she has periodically forgotten things in her life, in her adult life in particular. So she would forget where she parked her car or something like that, and then she would find it like a couple of blocks down. She would forget emails. She just would forget things, and she would be blacking out in these periods. Eventually, it escalates to the point where she's a nanny, and the young boy that she takes care of is brutally murdered. And of course she thinks, oh my god, I just murdered this boy. I have got to leave. And so she picks up and she leaves, and she's on the run from the police. She's on the run from her life. She'll never speak to her father again. And this is just so twisty-turny. I was totally hooked. I'm going to read all of his writing now because I really enjoyed it. It was really fun. So if you're looking for a fun thriller, yes, there is a narrator that is unreliable because she forgets things. However, I feel like this did it so well that I highly recommend it. So go and pick that up if you are in the mood for something like that. And then finally, I finished The Lifeboat by Charlotte Rogan. Now this is about a ship that goes down, and we follow the people who survived, who got onto a lifeboat and are basically sailing around in the middle of the ocean with no idea whether or not they're actually going to be saved or whether they're just going to be floating until they die. And it is about class. This takes place in 1914. So it's about class and different classes and how they interact with one another. And it's really fascinating because right from the get-go, we're following Grace. That's our main character. And right from the get-go, we know that she survived because she is narrating the story herself. And she's on trial for her life. Now, what in the world could have happened on this lifeboat that would put her in that position? And it was just so wonderful. This sadly has not such great ratings on Goodreads. I think it was like 3 stars or something like that on Goodreads. And it makes me sad because I thoroughly enjoyed this book. This book felt a little bit like Alias Grace meets A Life of Pi. Yeah, it was really, really wonderful. And I highly recommend it if you're into historical fiction with a little bit of a mystery involved in it. It's just wonderful. So I gave this 4 stars. So those were the books that I finished by the end of July. Since then, I've been reading some wonderful, wonderful books. I finally read Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine. So I will report back in early August with my part 1 August wrap-up about the books that I've been reading lately. Let me know in the comments below if you had any books that blew you away in July or any books that you hated. I would love to know, and I will talk with you later. Bye, guys.